We're going live? We're
Yeah.
live?
Live.
Really?
Oh, yeah, I think so. Hey guys, welcome back to Ridiculous Radio. I'm Conrad.
I'm Josh.
And tonight we are having Dan Magano on. Magano. Something.
I always pronounce I definitely screwed it up with, I think I called him Manjango one day.
Yeah. I think like
Dan will be on.
75% of the population has probably screwed up his last name. I think it's the Dan before it, and then you just like throw an extra N in there somewhere.
Yeah, I think I just added a bunch of letters in.
Well, shit, he's here right now. Let's bring him in.
Just bring him in.
Hey, man, how's it going?
What's up?
Are you talking to me?
Yeah.
Yep.
It's like real choppy. I can't understand you.
Oh, shit.
There you go. You're clearing up now. I don't know if you're able to hear us good. Oh.
Everything.
You literally sound like aliens right now.
Oh.
Huh.
That might be your end because everything looks good and sounds good on ours.
I have no idea what you're saying. It literally sounds like it's the best impression I can do.
Hold on. Try and leave and join back in.
Try going out.
Yeah.
Okay, hang on.
I love the technical difficulties on the stream.
Yeah, we might have to figure out a different thing to do it on.
Yeah.
Then again, I feel like it's everywhere.
Yeah, I wonder if we sound good on YouTube's end.
Dude,
I know I never sound good, but
do you watch South Park at all?
me?
Yeah. No,
Yeah.
the person behind you.
Yeah.
You see the new one?
No.
The Corona special or whatever?
No, you were telling me about it. I'll watch it if I can find it on Netflix.
I don't know what's going on. Why I can't? Let me go out.
Are you on Wi-Fi or are you on your regular server?
Try talking now.
What's up?
No, it literally sounds like you guys are aliens.
Huh? Are you?
Maybe it's the browser you're using. Try using a different browser. Did you come in through Facebook or did you try using your internet browser?
I sort of made out internet browser, but the rest I can't understand.
Copy the link to the internet browser and open it up in there.
Whatever just happened, you just got clear.
Oh shit! All right. Can you
I don't
hear
know
us
what
now?
the issue is, but now you sound like a human being again.
Awesome. Yeah, I was gonna say maybe it might be if you're on Wi-Fi or just a phone service.
Well, I'm on Wi-Fi because I don't get phone service where I live, so that's the only option that I have. But yeah, no, it literally I can't even begin to make the sound that it was making, but it sounded like I was going to be abducted.
That's fucking awesome.
Yeah.
So, what got you into keeping reptiles?
So I grew up afraid of snakes, actually, probably until I was around 17. And I started working at a place. I used to work nights and I couldn't sleep during the day. So I would just work a second job just because I didn't want to just sit around and do nothing. And so I started doing deliveries for a flower shop, and she actually kept reptiles there and did, rehabilitation of them. So I just started getting kind of used to being around them, and then, watching little kids handle them. And I was like, I can't be afraid of this shit anymore. So I got to figure it out. And I just kind of went the immersion approach and just picked a day. And I picked up 60 snakes the first day I ever handled snakes, and just said, I'm going to do it and get it over with. And next thing you know, now I have 1 million of them. So,
Dude, that's actually so far the craziest way I've heard of someone getting into snakes. You really don't hear someone going from being terrified of to owning them.
That won't happen with spiders. I will be terrified of spiders till the day I die. That one's not going to change.
No, I 100% feel you on that one. So, um, so when you got into keeping, what did you originally start with?
I think I did what a lot of people do and kind of went back and forth between a bunch of different things, probably way too fast. Um, one thing that kind of kept me in check, but also kind of took the wheels off was, working over at that place. I could keep some stuff there, some stuff at home. They also had a lot of stuff there, so that I was able to work with things I didn't necessarily have to get. But I started out with I had a berm, and then I got a Brazilian rainbow boa at one point. I had a ring python actually way back when. That is one of those snakes now I regret not keeping because now they're so much harder to come by. At that point in time, I was seeing them fairly frequently, and then also I had a hybrid short tail. Ironically enough, considering my stance on those, but at that time I didn't know any better, and I just picked him up, and he was a cross of something. I don't know if he was a Sumatran blood cross or Borneo blood cross, but he was definitely a hybrid.
Oh yeah.
And from there, did your love of like bloods and short tails just grow then, or how?
Yeah, well, actually, my first like real draw as far as snakes went was African rock pythons. That was like the first species that really captivated my attention. Um, we had one there at that place that was considerably large. At that time, when I first started there, she was probably 12 or 13 feet. Um, and obviously, I wasn't handling her at that point in time, but somebody else came in with a pair of babies, and I started messing with those and just really got into that species. Um, and my original plan in keeping and breeding was going to be to work with rock pythons eventually, but even back then the landscape started to change as far as laws go and legality goes, and it just didn't seem really prudent to have a collection of African rock pythons given the circumstances. So bloods and short tails were up there on my list of snakes that I really found fascinating, and I figured it was a logical animal to work with, not only because I really like them, but just because they're not usually on the radar for legislation. They kind of give you a big snake feel in a smaller package. You get all the personality traits of a larger snake and something that most people can handle alone just fine. So that was kind of the draw. There was something that I could keep, something that I could work with, living by myself, and then also having a market to sell. If you're going to sell babies, it's hard because you tell people don't get into it for the money and all that, which is not what you want to do. But you do want to make sure there's a market for the things that you love, because if they're not, then you're just going to be sitting on a ton of snakes.
So, how'd breeding season go for you this year then?
Well, I'm just starting. Or do you mean like 2020?
Yeah, 2020.
It was pretty quiet. I did 2 joint clutches with Rob up at Nerd. So he took one of my males up there, and he bred her to 2 females, and both took. So we got a clutch of marbles and a clutch of marble to granite stuff that we split. And then I did, how many clutches did I do here? I did 1 Sumatran clutch here. I did 1 Borneo clutch here. And I think that's it for this past season. It was fairly quiet. I'm kind of at a point right now, especially by blood pythons, where I have a ton of girls sitting around. But I wanted to upgrade males, and so I did stuff that I hatched in like 2018, and then I bought a 2018 male. So they're all on kind of the verge this year where they might breed, might not. So blood python projects have been sitting kind of quiet. I did 2 clutches of bloods the previous year. My goal ultimately is to get to where I have a nice rotation of stuff where I can produce each species each year, but rotate and kind of do a little bit different stuff. So I'm getting to that point, but it's just a matter of lining everything up. I have a bunch of holdback Sumatrans that are coming of age this year and next year. And then, you know, I have so many Borneos. I have Borneos on Borneos. So those, I pretty much produce Borneos every single year just because I have so many. But I do like to give my girls years off. So I'll either go 1 on, 1 off, 2 on, 1 off, 2 on, 2 off, sometimes 1 on, 2 off. Just my head is always a few years ahead, kind of figuring out what projects I want to line up. And so sometimes I'll give a girl a year off, even if she's coming off a year off, just because I really want her for the following year for a certain project. So I kind of look at it that way.
That's honestly really smart. And
I guess
makes a lot of sense. So.
I mean, you got to have a vision with stuff. Otherwise, you're just, you know, I see so many people where they have a male or a female. They're just like, oh, I just want a male or a female. It's like, well, what is your goal to make? What are you trying to do? You know, and people just don't have that vision. They're just breeding to breed. And given that there's only, you know, so many people out there that are buying snakes, I think if everybody kind of took a little more responsibility and had a direction, then we get higher quality animals, you know, better, stronger animals, and, you know, kind of keep the market sustained instead of just throwing anything out there.
Makes a lot of sense.
Yeah, that's for sure.
Yeah, so that's kind of where I'm trying to be, anyways. Sometimes it's weird because I have a lot of stuff that I'm doing where it's just what I want. So I'm putting snakes together for my peace of mind and a goal that I have. But I do try to also sometimes do some pairings where there's not necessarily anything out of that pairing that I particularly want. So those are animals I'll just let go, so people stop picking on me for holding back too much. So I've started trying to do that. You know, I have you can't really see, but I have this matrix het T positive girl down here. She's one that usually stuff from her I'm going to let go of. You know, she's a very nice animal, high quality animal, but I have some, you know, T positive females that I like better, so I'd rather keep stuff from those clutches, kind of thing.
All right.
Excuse me.
That makes sense. Josh,
Yeah, it's definitely hard to let stuff go sometimes.
Yeah, I mean, I get crap no matter what I do, you know, so it doesn't really matter. I'm at the point where if I like something,
and I'll start pulling stuff out, and they're like, "Oh, how much?" And I'm like, "No, like
Yeah.
it just no." Like,
yep, that's the marbles this year. Like everybody wants those, and I just don't want to let them go. I like them. Let me grab one so you can see them. I think there's marbles. Let's see who I'm pulling out. But yeah, everybody wants to snag these.
that's sick.
I don't really want to let them go. You know, I only have 4 of them.
Dude,
I want to keep them.
I don't really blame you.
No,
Yeah.
I mean, they got great marbling going down the sides there. She's got a really screaming orange head, which I know the camera doesn't really pick up how orange it is. It probably looks more like tan. Of course, she's going up. They don't ever cooperate. But they're really nice animals. And so, you know, we're trying to do the pairing again this year. I actually dropped my male off up there a little over a month ago, I'd say now, maybe a little bit longer. I don't really remember. It was Kevin's surprise birthday party. I dropped him off that night. So this is a male hold back from the same clutch.
Let me pull you. Yeah.
That's sick.
I'm trying to get used to where my camera is on this. I keep having to move around.
That is really awesome looking.
Yeah, I like the speckling even more on this side, actually. But yeah, just really cool. So this is a male. So I kept two males, 2 females.
There's almost no break on that speckling.
No, they're really nice. So I have stuff from the other pairing, which was, you know, marble to granite. So that came out a little bit different. So it's the same father, but it's a different mother. And you can see, like, this is one that I have for sale. But this one's got totally different sides. You know, the granite and marble together made something a little bit different. than just the straight marble does. So you can see it's a little bit different look, but there's still some of that speckling going on. You know, not the same head color, which that comes from the mother. The mom is Rob. She's really nice. You know, so this one I'm letting go. Basically, I kind of made up my mind that this clutch I'd let go and I'd hold back the other one. I only have 2 left from that clutch, but you know, I'll let them go at some point when the right people come along. But I'm not really advertising much right now, given the you know, Christmas season and the weather and COVID and all this other crap. Right now, it's just as easy not to ship. So I find it's easier not to advertise. So right now, if people come to me, I'm selling stuff, but otherwise, I'm not bothering right now.
All right. Yeah,
That's like a lot of issues with shipping and stuff too that I've seen people running into.
I had one package earlier this year where it just disappeared off a FedEx system for like a whole day. And what ended up happening is we have really, really early cutoff times here. I don't know of anybody that deals with as bad of a cutoff time as we do. Most of my friends around the country can drop stuff off at 6 at night, 7 at night, 8 at night. Our cutoff here is like 4:45. So I have to leave work early every time I have to ship a snake. I have to take the snakes with me to work. So they sit with me at work all day. On my lunch break, I do my labels and do all that stuff. And then I punch out a little early, box them up, and shoot over there because it's like a half hour from my work. But anyways, I drop it off at the place, and they have a pile for FedEx. And then both FedExes come through there, Express and Ground. Well, I guess Ground took all the packages. Didn't look at what they were, just took everything. And I used to work for Ground, and it's all subcontracted. So it's a private company. It's not FedEx. And they didn't want to deal with having to take the package over to actual FedEx. So they didn't scan it. They didn't do anything. They just put it in their warehouse. And luckily for me, the company that owns that area happens to be the company I used to work for. So I reached out to the owner of the company and said, listen, you know, your guys picked up this package, because I went back to the place where I dropped it off, talked to them. She did some research for me, found out what happened, called me back. In the meantime, it showed no scan ever. Like I dropped this package off and it just disappeared. And I had called, you know, Ship Your Reptiles, all them. They were working diligently, but there was nothing for them to really find out because they're obviously looking on the express end and nothing ever happened there. So I called my boss, and within like 7 minutes, the package got scanned in, dropped off over at regular FedEx, and on its way. That was actually going to, I believe that was the shipment I sent to Kina, if I'm not mistaken, which was a Borneo from an ocelot pairing last year. I'm almost positive that's the one that they lost, was hers. And, you know, fortunately it made it okay and everything was fine. The weather was good, so it wasn't a huge deal. But it's just crazy when it just disappears off the radar altogether and you have no idea what's going on. I've had my share of delays over time. The FedEx place I've had problems with twice, where they have this cart. They put the animal in the cart for overnight and then they forgot it there. That's happened twice and they never shipped it out. So it's just tough here. I really hate shipping, but obviously it's something you have to do if you're going to sell animals.
Yeah, like I don't know if you guys saw on Facebook. I think it was a few days ago they posted a video link. Someone said all my ball pythons came in frozen. I guess they left the snakes on the tarmac overnight somewhere in Canada.
Oh, it's scary.
No, they were like 2 or 3 days late, I think. And yeah, I don't think Canva made it. It was.
Then on top of it right now, the heat packs, I don't know what's going on with Uniheat, but the heat packs are terrible right now.
Yeah.
Everybody's having problems. I just bought a shipment of 100 of them. I've opened 20 so far. I got 2 to work, and one of them failed in transit. So one of them actually did its job out of 20. And I always expect 1 or 2 to fail out of every maybe 20 of them. Unfortunately, they just some of them just don't work. So I always open them hours in advance, make sure it's working. If it doesn't work within an hour or two, I'll open another one, you know, stuff like that. Oh, you're in 2 places.
Yeah.
I have no idea what's going on here.
Your other alter ego is not moving though. He's just sitting there.
Yeah.
Wait, is it really?
Yeah.
I just have the screen up there. Fuck it. Oh, well.
That's funny. So yeah, so I haven't reached out to them yet, but I'm going to at some point. I you know, pay a lot of money for that stuff. It'd be
It's
nice
gone.
if it worked.
Yeah. Yeah, that's sorry, that kind of tripped me out for a second. Not what we were talking about.
Dude,
Those
gets me up.
aliens, man.
You guys
The
were all
aliens.
froze. I'm like, can anyone hear me? And then I just disappeared. I'm like, oh, okay.
Yeah, you just randomly popped up in like the corner
Yeah,
down
my
here.
internet connection's bad,
You're on the
which
screen. I'm like, what the fuck?
I usually never have an issue.
My internet sucks all the time, so I'm used to it. But I'm out in the woods and nothing is reliable out here, so you just kind of get used to it.
Oh man. Yeah, I feel that. I'm kind of in the middle of nowhere, so
Yeah, I had some friends over the other day, and they're like, "Oh, we'll get pizza." They're like, "Do they deliver there?" I'm like, "No, that's not a thing." Like,
I want to move out to the country so bad, but that's what I fear, is not being close enough for people to actually get to you for stuff like that.
yeah, well, not only that,
no shit.
but
Pizza.
like I get so busy, and like my job knows I hate my job. So I've told people before, I'm like, one day I'm gonna die in my house, and no one's gonna find me for like 3 weeks, because you know my work would just assume I got fed up and quit. They wouldn't think anything of it. I don't have any visible neighbors. My landlord, I've lived here now for almost 13 years, so like I just heard from her a couple of days ago, and I hadn't paid November's rent yet, and we're in December. Like, she didn't even call me for like 5 weeks, and then she's just like, "Hey, what's going on?" Which I'm not a deadbeat. I just I'm doing a bunch of projects for her that are coming out of the rent, and so I've been trying to catch up on that and do things. So I've got to swing over there and talk to her. I just got busy, but
I feel that.
like I said, she's not going to check on me typically. She hasn't even been to my house. She lives about a half mile away, and she hasn't been over here since like 2009, 2010. You know, like it's been a long time. So if anything ever happens to me, the only people that might know are people on social media. Nobody's going to find out for a while otherwise.
Yeah, someone be like, "Where the fuck's Dan?
Yeah.
Why isn't he on mine?"
Yeah. I haven't seen a complaint in like 2 weeks. Something's wrong. Yeah, that'll be about it though. I don't have people over very often. Just because most people don't want to drive out here. And then you know, I work 40, 50 hours a week, and then I'm working on the animals when I'm not working. So generally speaking, unless people are animal people, not many come over here anymore.
Definitely.
No,
Definitely understand.
what area do you live in, or where do you live? I don't know. If we
I'm
have
in Lyme, Connecticut.
Connecticut.
Yeah. So I'm at the home of Lyme's disease. That's about all we have out here. We have one business in town, and it's a car dealership of all things. There's no gas stations, there's no restaurants, there's no grocery store, there's no nothing, but there's a car dealership / marina / little general store. But it's one of those like family-owned businesses that's been there since 1859. So they just kind of got grandfathered in, and they're allowed to continue to have a business there. And so like everybody around here drives Subarus because that's what they sell. So it's really funny. There's just Subarus everywhere. Like I go to work, and there's like 10 employees, and 6 of us drive Subarus. So I'm basically a lesbian.
East Coast herpetology says that it's still got a tango with your white lip.
I'm waiting for him to come over. Last time his mother told him he wasn't allowed to, and then he came over to meet her finally, and I think he realized how much more intimidating she is in person than she is on the internet, because he was all set that day for sure. But we'll see. We'll see if we can get him to do it.
All right. So do you have a northern or a southern white lip?
I have a pair of Southerns. My male is actually super chill. The female is not, but she's enormous, so it makes it not really fun at all. She honestly is one of the biggest Southerns that I've ever seen. I don't even know how big they can get. I don't know how big she is because she hates me so much. There's no way I'm going to get an accurate measurement. But she is at minimum 8 feet, and I would say she's upwards of 9. So she's a big girl, and she doesn't tolerate you even being in the same room, let alone coming in her cage. So the male's cool. He'll musk and he gets a little flighty, but once you get him out, he'll actually sit and sleep in my arms. I can have him out for an hour and he'll just sit there. So he's really cool. I am hoping to breed them at some point, but I have some reservations because she's so evil that she's going to kill him, and I really like him, and I don't want to be stuck with the wrong kid. So we'll see what happens. I know snakes obviously treat other snakes differently than they treat people. So everybody, when they hear like, oh, well, she's mean to you, she may not be mean to him, but she's actually gone after herself on several occasions. She's gone after her water dish on several occasions. Like, she's just tapped. So I get concerned that she'll catch his iridescence reflecting and just go after him. So we'll see what happens, but I need him to get some more size for sure. He's only maybe 5 feet, and I just feel like it's way too much of a size difference for him to be safe with her right now. So we'll see what happens.
Yeah, finding a female is damn near impossible. From what I've come to, just doesn't happen. Yeah, so you're definitely lucky to have both.
Yeah, I have no complaints there. I'm just hoping that I'll be able to breed her. She's been here going on 3 years now, so she's been here long enough to kind of settle into a routine, settle into a cycling pattern. I'm going to start playing with her temps a little bit this year, just to maybe kind of get her into the routine of cycling a little bit more. And then hopefully next season, if he puts on some size, then I can put him in there. And what I'm thinking I'll do is get some kind of hide that he can fit in that she can't. Just give him a retreat to go into. And I think next summer, if I can, I'm going to try to get them both outside at the same time. Just get them around each other a little bit, maybe start leaving his sheds in her cage on occasion. Just anything I can do to kind of make it not such a big shock when he shows up in there. So that's my goal, because his safety is the most important thing to me. If it comes down to I feel like it's not safe for him, then I'm just not going to breed them.
Yeah, everyone that I came across that were selling them, it's usually as a pair.
Yeah.
And usually for a pretty steep price. I'm like, I just need a female. Or if you want to sell me 2 females, that's cool, but I don't want 2 males and 1 female.
Right.
That's definitely, it's been a task. Even just to find a male before, it took me a while. But
so I actually found the female first. And then I decided, well, I bought her, and I paid a little over $1,000 for her. So I definitely spent some money there. And I said, you know what, I'm going to find a male. And everybody's like, you're never going to find a male. I'm like, I just want a captive bred male with a little bit of size. And everybody's like, you'll never find one. You never find one. You never find one. So I put up an ad just on not even an ad, but just a post on my personal Facebook, and just said, hey, I'm looking for a captive bred male Southern white lip, preferably something like 2 or 3 years old. And within like 2 hours, I had one. So my friend Matt over at Selective Origins shot me a message, and he's a blood and short tail guy, but he used to breed Southerns, some years ago. And he shot me a message. He goes, I have a 2016 male that's just sitting here as a pet. I'm not going to be working with Southerns again anymore. He's an animal I picked up thinking maybe I'd get back into it, but I'm not going to. So if you want him, he's yours. And he gave me a really good deal on him, and now he's here. So I lucked out big time in that regard.
Yeah. It's crazy because just a couple of years ago, it's pretty easy to come by them, and they weren't that big of a thing. And now they've blown up, and you can't find them anywhere.
Well, everything that comes out of that area has kind of gotten a little tighter as far as export goes. Indo and that whole area is really kind of tightened down and cracked down. They're sending out less and less stuff. There's a lot of concern with the Boland's pythons because if more people don't start picking it up and figuring out how to breed those, Indo's getting tighter and tighter and tighter, and pretty soon I don't think they're going to send any more of those out of there. So hopefully people can figure it out, because we're going to get to a point soon where it's probably going to be like it is with a lot of the Australian stuff. What we have here is what we have here. I was actually just talking to Nick Mutton the other day. I'm trying to track down a male Cape York spotted python, and there's a lot of people selling Cape Yorks that are not Cape Yorks, and then whatever. So I was talking to Nick, and what I didn't realize is that every single Cape York spotted python that we have here originates from one pair in 1979 that came in. So every single Cape York is from one pair of snakes. So he said it's getting harder and harder to breed them because they're basically so inbred at this point, and there's no way to stop it because you can't get anything out of Australia. So no matter what you do, if you're trying to maintain that bloodline, you're basically inbreeding, and generationally so.
That reminds me of like Mick Boyles from It's Always Sunny in Philadelphia.
What was it? I know it was Sunny, but I didn't hear what you said.
Line breeding always reminds me of like the McPoyle family from It's Always Sunny in Philadelphia.
Yeah. Gotcha.
that's
basically. But that's also why, like, people get so into the hybrids, and that's why I think it can be dangerous, is because you look at stuff like that, even just localities, you're losing localities forever in the hobby because you can't get any more in. And then, God forbid, someday those animals, something happens in that area and you lose them in the wild, they're gone. There's no captive stock to lean on, anything like that. So I think I try as best I can with localities to keep localities separate. So even like my water pythons, I have, ones that are from Papua New Guinea and I have ones that are from Queensland, and I don't pair those two up. I'll keep them separate because I want to keep those localities pure. So I would like to do that with the spotted python as well, but no luck so far.
Okay, so here's something that I've always like. When you bring up like if a catastrophe were to happen in the wild, do you think if people were to keep locality specific animals that they would be able to release captive bred animals back into the wild to help save them?
I think that you would have to do some things to ensure that they would have a chance. I think obviously the younger the animals you are, like I know a lot of people like to release older animals, so they're not, basically become prey as often, but a lot of what wild animals need to do is build up that immune system from a young age. So if you're releasing adult animals that have been kept in sterile conditions and putting them in the wild, they're not going to do well. But I think if you do it when they're younger, they'll build that up a little more. Or if you put them in some kind of facility that's kind of like we'll call it a halfway house for snakes or something, where it's, you're keeping them in a more natural setting, probably more bioactive, but not being so fastidious with it and kind of letting them build that up. There are instances where captive animals have repopulated the wild. Arabian oryx is an example. Those were functionally extinct in the wild, and it was actually private keepers that came together and bred those, and those were able to be re-released, and now there's a very sustainable population in the wild of those. So it's not something that's never happened before. I don't know reptile examples of it happening, but if you aren't keeping stuff pure and you're doing hybrids, then it's never going to happen. At least it would be nice to have the opportunity if we got to that point. And there are what they call Ssp programs that zoos do, and private collectors do it as well, which is basically the species survival program. And that's what they're doing, is keeping a book, and they're looking to, basically they control your pairings if you participate in that program, depending on the species. So they'll tell you, we want you to pair, this animal with this animal. And then what they're looking for is genetic diversity while maintaining the species. So you don't get in a situation where we have with like cheetahs and pandas and some of these other animals where it's so hard to not be inbreeding because there's so few animals. So those programs exist, and both private collectors and zoos are working on those programs. And they do it by list of concern with the species and whatever else. So, that contingency plan is there. So obviously, if we hit that point, they are planning on having those be viable for that. I don't know how they would take the next step to, get those animals ready for release, but they do have those programs in place if they need to.
All right. Like, more sense.
What's that?
I said that definitely makes more sense.
Yeah. So I just look at it that way, and plus, a lot of times, in my opinion, a lot of the natural stuff is really pretty, and it's really nice looking, and it's really cool. And I think people get away from that and chase morphs and chase all these other things. And, I have them in my collection, so I'm not knocking it. But I wish more people focused on the quality of perfecting the animal and then starting to add morphs or stack morphs or whatever they're doing. A lot of people just look at, well, it's four genes or 5 genes, and not how can I take, the pied gene and make it really cool, and then add in this really cool line of pastel I've been working on, and try to make the nicest animals you can instead of just what you think is going to be the most profitable. And there's a few guys out there that have done that. Kevin's done it. Ozzy's done it. Justin's done it with ball pythons. I know a lot of people are ball python keepers, so it just makes sense to talk about that. But those are guys that you look at their animals, and the same gene they have looks different than what you see elsewhere because they've put in the work and the time to really make it nice.
Yeah, selective breeding.
Yeah. Yeah. So I try to do that with everything here. Like I told you before, I have a vision, I have a plan, and it changes. You can't just get narrow-minded either and be like, this is what I'm going to do and never deviate, because especially breeding Borneo, stuff pops up you don't expect. And so, you started on this path and you're all over the place by the end, trying to kind of nail down exactly what you're looking for. So you have to have a plan, but you have to be willing to deviate from that plan. I think that's probably the best advice I can give people on that.
All right. Yeah, that definitely makes sense. So, what are your favorites in your collection?
That's a tough question. Pretty much all my animals are my favorites. I just have a few that I like less. So like my ocelot Borneo is on my shit list. My female southern white lip, I love her, but she hates me. My male white lip's up there. I really like him. I actually just did a video on my YouTube channel recently where I discussed my top 5 favorite species that I'm keeping right now. Oh, excuse me. So I have a few of those animals on there, but I really don't have like a favorite. Incognito is probably up there, but I sold her back to her original breeder this year, kind of as a favor to her. So she's gone now, but she was probably up there as my favorite animal if I really had to pick. So that was really, really hard to let go, but she's a very good friend, and so I did it. Was not excited about it, but she's a great person. She takes great care of her, so I'm not worried in that regard. I just miss having her. I still go to check on her all the time, and she's not here, so it's like really weird. My big T positive female, my blood python, she's like deep in shed right now, but she's one of my favorites. She's just such a great animal. She's huge, especially for a blood. Bloods used to get much larger than we see now. A lot of the time now, you don't see them exceed 6 feet very often, but they used to get like 8 feet. So I don't know what's changed in captivity about how we're keeping them, how we're feeding them, something we're doing, whether it's where we're taking them directionally breeding. But they've changed a lot. But she's 6'8", so she's a good size. I have another girl at 6'4". But then like Raiden over here is more what you see now, like a 5.5 foot adult. She's 6 years old now, so she probably won't get much bigger.
I believe Garrett Hartle actually posted a picture of him like a couple years back with a really big blood python.
Yeah, that was how I think the picture was taken from what he even said. It's big, but I don't think it's that big.
Yeah, no, I think that snake is probably pushing 7 feet. I know of a couple of people. I know somebody has one that's like 6'10". My girl that's 6'8" is the biggest Morph blood python that I've seen. Because she's T positive. Most of the larger ones than her that I've seen are normals. So I don't know. I saw a pretty big ivory at one point, but I'm still betting she was probably like 6'4", 6'5".
I feel like size has gone down just because of the knowledge everybody has gained. You know, back in the 80s, early 90s, I feel like there was a lot more power feeding, heavy feeding, and we were seeing a lot bigger snakes back then. And now it's everybody tries to go by a book of how to feed, what to feed, size, you know.
Yeah.
I feel like that might have part of it to why everything's gotten a little smaller.
Yeah, well, the only thing that I would dispute that is if you look at the wild populations, they're larger.
Yeah.
Those animals that are out there, you know, living it, doing it, whatever. Even weight wise, if you look at the weight of a wild blood python, most captive blood pythons would be obese to match that same weight. Now that could be those animals are building more muscle tone because they have to do more. It may just be that they're getting larger. But I did look at some sizes on some studies, and the wild ones were much larger than what we have. Boas were the same way. It used to be pretty routine to see them pull boas out of the jungle that were, 12 feet. And now it's like if you have a 7 or 8 foot female, she's pretty big. So it's definitely changing. And I do think people are getting smarter with feeding. Not everybody. There's a lot of people out there that are feeding terrible still. But people get too hung up on feeding by the calendar. Everybody wants to feed every Tuesday. Everybody wants to feed every this. And you try to tell people you can use that as a baseline, just kind of give yourself an idea. But you've got to kind of shuffle things. I do different prey types, different prey sizes, different frequency. So I might hit a girl twice in a week, and then I might not feed her for a month. I'm just kind of all over the place with how I'm feeding. And outside of like my olive pythons, they get food cycled for breeding. So they have specific stuff that I'm doing at certain times of the year. But other than that, all my animals are varied. Like I just fed a bunch of quail to a bunch of my bloods and short tails this past week. Next time I'll probably throw them a rat. Then I'll mix in a rabbit every now and again. Just trying to get different prey items.
Oh yeah. How many olive pythons do you have?
Just a pair now. I had 3. I got rid of the extra female. So I have a 2011 female that was produced by Jason Chapman. And then I have a 2015 male that was produced by Jeff Hartwig.
Oh, yeah. That's awesome. I love going out Dylan's just to see that kind of stuff.
What's that?
I usually go out Dylan's just to see that kind of stuff.
Oh, well, actually, Dylan is who I sold my extra female to.
Oh, really?
Yeah, so he has my smaller female. Yeah, he's had her now. I don't know. It's been a little while. I don't remember when I dropped her off.
Was it a couple months?
What's that?
A couple months back? Because I know you had 2 smaller ones. The one was not small. It wasn't tiny, but it was on the smaller side.
Yeah, she's right. The last time I was over there, if you go down his first row of cages, like you just walk into the room and hang a right.
Yeah.
She was down almost all the way to the end on the right hand side up top.
Okay. Yeah. Then I've seen her before.
Yeah. So she was over there. I think right across from his one of his scrub pythons. I think is across the way there. But yeah. So I just kind of needed some money at one point, and I hadn't had success breeding them yet. And she's going to be a couple years out before she's ready to be paired. So I just knew he was looking for females after he bought that huge pair that turned out to be males.
Males. Yeah.
He's got some of the biggest male olive pythons I've ever seen.
Dude, they're huge. They're huge. The first day I went, like, the first time I ever went out there, I'm like, I'm looking. I'm like, that's not a retic up there. And I could just see its back, and it was moving.
Yeah.
I'm like, what is that? And he pulled it out. Dude, it's huge.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, and he slimmed them down a lot. They were obese when he got them. So he's got them looking really good now compared to what they looked like before. But I'm wondering if they're ever going to breed for him, because he's usually got to worry about your female eating the male. He's going to have to worry about the opposite way.
Yeah.
But yeah, no, it's wild how big they are. I've never seen a male that size. My male is probably 7 feet, and he's 5 years old. So it's crazy.
Yeah,
So
they're big.
Did you have anything else you wanted to show off?
I can grab some stuff for sure. Let's see who's in here. My super cool locking system newspaper.
I feel that.
So these are siblings from the same clutch this year. This is from Orion to Lilith. I show these guys off on my channel quite a bit. This is kind of why I like Borneos, because these are so different, but they're clutch mates. So like I'm terrible at finding where I need to be for the camera. He's like a lot lighter and got like that totally different pattern than her. And then she's much darker. She's got more of the side swipe gene. I don't know if he has side swipe or not. His pattern's kind of fighting with the ultra that's in there. So it'll be interesting to see what happens when he gets of age where I can breed him. But yeah, they're brother and sister, same clutch, born this year. So I'm really excited about these guys. Going to go different directions with them. She's going to go into a more darker side swipe project, and he's going back to his mother eventually to try to pull out kind of the gray color he has in there, which doesn't really pick up. You can kind of see right there where it's kind of gray. So that's something that I'm trying to pull out from his mother. That's where that stems from. Right, buddy? Actually, I did a video this morning for my for members only on my YouTube channel, and my T positive ivory almost bit me right in the face. He missed me by probably like the length of my beard hair. It was so close.
So that's what I was going to ask you about. I've heard blood pythons and Borneo shorttails were always more nervous snakes and tend to be more bitey. So what are some handling techniques that you would recommend to people who have
So first and foremost, a lot of that is like a lot of other snakes where their wild caught reputation kind of dictates what people think about them now. Captive breeding has changed that to some degree. But really what's changed that, and not necessarily changed that, is just people keeping them right. The problem with a lot of snake keepers is they like to do blanket husbandry. So if this works for this species, I'm just going to do it for this species. And so a lot of people obviously were keeping ball pythons, got these in and kept them the same as ball pythons. And that just doesn't work. So these guys absolutely hate being too warm. So once they get over like the mid 80s, they're just temperamental, hard to handle, really tough to deal with. And it's literally like a line. Like a snake that'll tolerate 83.5, when it hits 84, they're mental. So you just have to learn that animal and kind of do that. But what the problem is people look at the weather where they're from and go by, okay, well, this is how warm it is today. But these guys are so terrestrial. They're always on the ground. A lot of them are actually kind of buried in piles of substrate and different things. So they're sitting in cooler temperatures.
Yeah, under trees and stuff, they usually find them.
Yeah, they'll sit in water, bodies of water. So they're always in cooler areas. So even though it might be 88, 89 outside, they're sitting somewhere where it's 80, 81, 82. So that's kind of their sweet spot. 78 degrees to like 82 degrees. They do really well. If you're going to give them if you're doing ambient, I keep it between those temperatures. If I'm doing a hot spot, then I'll throw them like an 84, 85 hot spot and just make sure they have enough room to get away from it. I find mine will occasionally bask if they have heat, when they're gravid or occasionally after a big meal. But other than that, they really don't bask much. They kind of stay away from the heat as much as they can. Even if the other side of their cage is too cold for them, they'll go over there before they go on the heat. So that definitely helps. Supporting their body weight's a big deal. They're heavy-bodied snakes. You gonna come out and play nice? Maybe. This is one of my Borneo girls. This is Astra, and you can hear her. She's voicing her displeasure. She's actually pretty good. She's a side swipe, a little bit older, obviously, than the other animal I produced here. But, a lot of people make the mistake of not supporting their body weight. So you'll see me handle them a little bit different than I would suggest to most people, because this is a snake I bred. She's been here her whole life with me. So she has more trust for me than you would with a new animal that's going to be adjusting. But, I always try to keep their body supported. Being strictly terrestrial animals, if they feel like they're uneven or unsettled, it makes them really nervous, especially if they don't have that relationship with you. So like I can hold her like this and it's fine, but if you do this with a blood or a short tail that doesn't know you, you're probably going to get whacked. And, a lot of people make the mistake too because they're afraid to get bit and they hold them out away from their body. And that's often a mistake because now you're putting them out more where they feel uncomfortable. They're not close to anything. So I usually keep them closer to me and obviously just keep them out of your face. The one this morning I was talking about, I had him in my hand over here and I'm talking. I kept seeing him out of my peripheral and he was just dead tracked on my face watching me. And so in the middle of talking, I just leaned over like this and said, like, what are you looking at? And he popped off finally at my face. And then as soon as I pulled my face away, he didn't go after it again. He just sat in my hand. But he's a nervous animal, and I know that. So I kind of pushed him a little bit beyond his limits. Whereas she's not as nervous of an animal. So I don't feel a need to pay attention to her. She's not going to pop off and hit me in the face like that. And she's actually pretty annoyed right now. Usually she'd be a little bit calmer, but it is later on in the evening and they tend to get a little more active at this time. Plus I already dragged her out once today for a video. So she's like, enough is enough. But she's just such a pretty animal and I'm excited hopefully next year to pair her up and see what I can do with her. But she's, let's see how she's related. Well, actually her brother is the father of the two babies that I just had out. So she's their aunt. Orion is the dad, and then she's a clutch mate to Orion. But he looks a lot different. He's got much nicer dorsal striping, but he doesn't quite have the same color as she does. That's why I held her back, was for color and contrast. So I really like her tail down here, where you get that nice black on that yellow. And like I said, the lighting doesn't really do it a lot of justice. But when she fires up, she could be really nice. Same on her neck. If I can get her to stick her neck over there for a minute. She's got really cool colors and contrast on the neck there that I like. So that's why I kept her, and that's what I want to do with her, is use her to put more color in that project. Her mother's got really super nice color. I'll grab her brother out real quick so you can see him. And this bin that's open is just empty, so don't worry, nobody's loose. Good. Are you gonna move too? It's a family thing. So this is her brother and the father to those babies earlier. So this is Orion, and like I said, he has a much more defined dorsal stripe. Now he still has some pretty nice color on the sides. And the funny thing is, looking at it on the camera, it actually looks the same as Astra's, but in person, hers is much, much brighter. His is more of like a cream color. She's much more yellow. But he's a side swipe as well. And that was his first clutch this year, which was nice. I actually lost his father. His father was like a breeding machine, and I lost him, and in 2019, and that was the same year that he started breeding. So it worked out fairly well in that regard. But Dad is definitely missed because he batted 1,000 in his career. I never put him with a female that he didn't give me a viable clutch. Really healthy, strong babies. And so far, he's carrying on the torch. He's 1 for 1. So we'll see how he does going forward. He's paired up this year to an ocelot female that belongs to Rob. So we'll see if he can get it done and carry on the family tradition.
Well, yeah, man.
But yeah, you can see like I don't always handle them the way that I tell people to. Like I said, just because this snake hatched here in 2016, he's never known anything else but me. So he doesn't really care how I hold him. He was actually just in one of my more recent YouTube videos. I think the one that I did on, I don't know, maybe that came out on Saturday. It might have even been. It's one of the recent ones, but he's on there and he eventually just falls asleep in my arms because he's just chill and doesn't care. But nighttime, they are always more active. But even now, if I held him for like a half hour, eventually he would just chill out. No, not that he's like freaked out or anything, but he's just on the go. But great snakes. I think more people would enjoy them if they got into them. As long as you keep their husbandry good, it's a really pleasant experience. If their husbandry's bad, you're going to have a hell of a bad time between respiratory infections and also just moody snakes. I don't know if you guys have any other questions or you want me to pull something else out or.
Josh,
Whatever you want.
are you able to pull one of your bigger ones out, or would that be?
Trying to think who I could grab. I mean, I can grab the big girl. She's just in shed, so she's not as.
Yeah.
She doesn't care. It's not going to bother her. But let's see if I can muscle her out of here, though. Ooh. Make sure she sees me coming. She's like deep in blue.
And these balls and Exotic said he can't wait for his T-Neg matrix to get the size of that last male you pulled out.
What was that again?
These ball and Exotic says he can't wait for the T-negative matrix that he has to get that size of the male that you just had out.
Who? That's a big girl.
He asked if your tubs are 70s series.
I'm not good. Those are ARS. That rack there for the sub-adults is like basically like 41 quart tubs. I use Christmas tree tubs for most of the adults. So this is the big T positive girl. Like I said, she's very in shed right now.
Oh yeah. You can tell she's waiting to drop a poop too.
She actually doesn't have much in there. That's probably more urine than anything, which they do a lot. So something to keep in mind if you keep bloods and short tails. They pee constantly. It's not technically pee because of how their body's set up, but it's pee. You're getting a lot of liquid. They don't just send out dry urates like a lot of other species do. She gets heavy after a while. But, like I said, she's a pretty big girl. It's hard to get her all in the shot there.
Have you ever weighed her?
Yeah, she's about 30 pounds.
That's it.
I haven't weighed her recently. She's like, what the hell, man? I'm in shed. I can't see shit. Don't do it. She's pretty chill, which is I'm very thankful for. If she wanted to throw a big fit, it would not be a very fun time for me. But generally speaking, she's really well behaved, especially right now. I mean, she's in shed. This is a time where a lot of animals get more defensive, and she's still fine. I'm a little bit more careful when she's in shed just because I expect her to be a little less predictable. But, you build relationships with them and hope that
you
gets through.
You definitely get to know your animals
Oh,
After years of owning them.
yeah. I got to get her a bigger cage too because she's just getting bigger and bigger, and this really isn't suitable for her. But I haven't been able to find anything that I like for her. I try wherever possible to avoid keeping bloods and short tails in cages. You can do it, but they just don't like it as much. But as far as tubs go, it doesn't get much bigger than this. So it's kind of tough. So
What size tub is she in right now? Is she just in a Christmas?
Like
she's in a Christmas tree tub, but it's realistically way too small for her. You know, thankfully she's a blood python, so she doesn't really move. She basically moves when I come in the room for food, and that's about it. And then when she sheds, she'll move. But I'd like to get her into a setup where I can kind of encourage her to move a little bit more naturally. I take her out quite a bit, so especially during the summer, she's outside a lot. She does really well out there. So I'll take her out and let her cruise the yard for a while. But definitely want to figure something out for her. So I might have to kind of customize something. Kind of turn a cage into a tub, if you will.
Yeah.
You know, whether I tint the glass or whatever I do, I'll try to figure something out for her. I've just always found, ironically enough, a lot of people say that these guys hate being approached from above, but I've found that they do better that way in my collection. And, you know, maybe it's just because they're used to it here. I don't know. But the few times I've had to keep them in caging where you're coming at them from the level, I tend to get more defensive responses.
Yeah, I tried to keep my female in a vision cage,
Mm-hmm.
and there was just a big flip on attitude, and
Yeah.
that didn't last very long.
Yeah.
And then you're coming face to face with them instead of being able to reach down and just scoop them up.
Yeah. I don't know what it is because logically you would think getting approached from above would set them off, but mine don't seem to respond to that as much as they do coming at them like that. So I don't know how many short tails I have right now. I probably have around 65, maybe 70 of them. And I have 2 that give me any real issues. Ethel sucks. And then my ocelot male sucks. And that's really it. You get some babies that once in a while are nervous or whatever. But every single snake that I've held back and raised is great. I don't have any issues with any of my adults that I've produced and kept.
So one last time, I don't think he was here when you mentioned it. What temps do you keep your bloods and short tails at?
So if I'm doing ambient, I keep them between like 78 and 82. If I'm running a hot spot, then I'll still look for the same ambient temperature, but I'll give them a hot spot of like 84, 85. Gravid females, I'll give them a hot spot somewhere in like 86, 87, maybe upwards of 88, but I wouldn't go any higher than that. And gravid females, I find Basque probably about 75% of the time that I give them a hot spot, they use it. Some females never touch it. They won't go near it. Other ones are on it the whole, 30, 45 days, whatever it is that I offer it. So it just kind of varies by individual animal. But they seem to find a spot. I notice when they lay their eggs, they'll find a spot that's usually like partially on the heat, partially off. So I think that in their minds, they're trying to give themselves a little wiggle room to kind of thermoregulate. So they want to be close to the heat source, but be able to kind of put their body on it and off of it. That's what I found with the ones that they almost always lay their eggs right on the edge of the hot spot. I've had one that just laid it totally the other direction.
Shit. Uh-oh. I froze.
You
Yep.
froze?
Yeah.
Oh, there you are.
At least there wasn't 2 of you because we can't do that.
Yeah, no, fuck that. Yeah, I think we kind of covered everything. Josh, did you have any questions?
For the most part, you don't do venomous or anything. Cause I feel like how you deal with Dylan, what you never got into venomous or?
It's not that I'm not into them, but we can't legally keep them here. So.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. When I was in my younger days, I kept a couple because I was stupid, but now I'm, a little bit smarter. And I don't mean stupid in the sense. Well, I mean it's stupid in the sense of if I ever got bit, I would have been dead because there's no I didn't have any antivenom, and there's not any antivenom in state to go to. Although that's changed now. There's a place in the state that has some, but back then there wasn't. And then also stupid in the sense of, the potential risks to the hobby. If something happens and, I'm not supposed to be keeping them, then obviously that looks bad for us all. So, but, back in 2005, 2006, I was younger and much dumber. So that stuff didn't really factor into my mind so much. And I wasn't as aware of the community as I am now. It's changed so much.
Especially since like things like social media came into play. I feel like in some ways that really helped build the reptile community and make it tighter knit, because like I feel like a lot of people that I have on my friends list in the reptile community are all intertwined with each other in some way, So it just kind of builds like a tighter knit community. You find out, who really not to fuck with, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
You find out who's doing a great job.
That is for sure. We have some real gems. So, fortunately, I think a lot of people like that, the community does a pretty good job of policing themselves, but there's some people that are real scummy that just people don't seem to care. And they'll even be aware of the things that they've done, and they seem to just kind of dismiss it as not a big deal. And I don't know. It's something that maybe if we were all used car salesmen, you could be like, whatever. But these are living creatures. So when people are mistreating and abusing them, I think that should really be a serious issue. And I think people need to kind of, cast those people out. There's certain things you do that you don't deserve a second chance. And that's one of those things. Abusing animals is not something where you were like, oops, I didn't know any better. Like, I'm sorry, you do. So
Yeah.
I don't play that.
Yeah, that's for sure. So on these balls and exotics, did you have any more questions? I think he's the only person still watching at the moment.
It sucks, dude. At the beginning, everybody was freezing. Now it all cleared up, which is good. But it sucked that it happened in the beginning.
Yeah, I don't know what that was. I wish I had a way to have recorded it because you guys sounded crazy.
Damn technology is what it is.
Yeah.
There's so many pluses and so many downfalls of it.
Yeah.
All right. Well, I'm sure we could wrap it up. I think we touched on it.
You have a lot breeding this season, you said, or a few things.
I don't know yet. I have kind of a plan in my mind. So far, I've paired up 3 pairs. Only one has actually bred. I'm trying to run in some of these new males, and with blood and short tail males, they just kind of mature when they mature. So sometimes it might be 2 years old, sometimes it might be 3, sometimes it's 4. So you're kind of at their mercy. So I have a couple of 2-year-olds that I really want to breed, and a 3-year-old I really want to breed, but it's entirely up to them. So Orion is breeding because he's like his father. He gets an opportunity, he's there. So he's breeding very, very well. I paired him up twice with the female. He's locked her twice. I may put him back to his mother this year. I'm up in the air. If I do, it'll be a little later in the season. Just make sure this other female takes and then put them over there. I don't like to stretch these guys too thin. So if you're pairing, usually it's like 1-to-1, 1 male to 1 female, maybe 2 females to a male. Is really what you want to stick to. It's not like ball pythons. You could spread those males between 5 or 6 females and get 5 or 6 clutches. These guys, if you spread them too thin, sometimes you end up getting nothing. So you've kind of got to manage them a little bit differently. His father is the only snake, as far as short tails go, that I've ever stretched to 3 females in a season, and he got all 3 of them. But like I said, he was just an otherworldly breeder. And the thing about him is I only paired him up with each girl like 2 times, and they were knocked up. So it wasn't he bred 6 or 7 times the whole season. So it's not like he went ape shit. He just was that good that he got them nice and early and good to go. So, but typically I don't do that. So like right now, Raiden, my T positive matrix, I'm trying to breed to my T positive 007. He showed a little bit of interest the second time I paired him up, but I unfortunately came in the room and interrupted it. And I didn't throw him off his game, but she's so food motivated that she heard me come in and she just shrugged him off and came right over hoping I was going to feed her. So I kind of screwed that up just with timing coming in to check for the day, that he happened to be courting her at that moment. So I'm hoping with this, we have a big snowstorm coming in Wednesday. So Tuesday night, I'm going to try to pair some up and hope that pressure change will get things going. We have like, I don't know, it's over a foot of snow we're supposed to be getting, so it should be a really good storm.
Did you guys get any snow this past week?
Well, today was like 60 degrees.
Awesome.
But we got a little bit of snow maybe a week and a half or so ago, I think. I don't remember exactly when. Nothing substantial.
We
just
got hit with like 10 to 12 inches of snow.
Yeah, that's probably the storm that's rolling this way. So yeah, I'm always right on that line where I drive like 3 miles down the road and there's nothing, and then my house is buried. So that happens all the time here because I'm just a little bit different elevation and it just hits different through here. So we'll see how it goes. I might end up getting a day off of work next week.
Oh yeah. All right. Well, thanks for joining us, man. We definitely appreciate it.
I'm glad we were finally able to do it.
Oh, wait, Josh.
What are the dates like? When do you start pairing?
I kind of use my females to tell me when I should start pairing, so I don't have a particular date in mind. I plan at the beginning of the year that I want my females in shape or coming into shape around like October, November, December. Some females will be ready to pair late October. Some might not be ready until February, which is kind of weird because they're all in the same room in here. I have multiple snake rooms, but my breeder females for short tails are all in here. So same conditions, same everything, and they just go at different times. So I use their behavior to dictate. Sometimes I can push it along a little bit by putting a male in there, just kind of letting her feel that presence. But typically, like my breeding season's in full swing, usually from about Christmas to mid-February. That's when I have like most activity going on. And then I'll usually start getting my first egg somewhere between March, April, and then sometimes as late as, August or September.
Okay. Yeah, I was just curious because I know like boas are a little bit different. They'll breed a little sooner. Just different, species, everything. Just curious on.
Yeah, I moved a lot of stuff around this year for that reason because like I feel like I haven't had success with the olive pythons because I wasn't able to get them cold enough. And running ambient, I can't have them in my regular snake room. Otherwise, I would be putting all my other animals at risk because like the olives, you got to get down to like 60 degrees. And if I did that to the short tails, we would not be, I would have a lot less short tails in a hurry. So I move the olives to where I can cycle them. And then right now, every Sunday night, actually right before we did this video, I just went and did it. But every Sunday night, I'm temp dropping them a little bit further each week. And then I'm also changing the period of time that their heat is going. So I'm night dropping them. And every time that I switch, I take like another 15 minutes on each end and make it longer and longer that temperature's dropped. So I'm hoping this year I'll have some success with them because they breed like crazy. I just haven't got eggs out of her yet. So I'm thinking it's because I haven't been able to drop the temperature and change that. So hopefully now, right now I have them where their night temperature's in like the mid to lower 70s on the hot end. So I'm getting down there. Probably in another couple of weeks, I'll start pairing them up and just see what kind of activity I get. I've stopped feeding the female. I already food cycled her before and fed her real heavy for a few weeks. Well, actually like a month and a half, just throwing her meals twice a week and just really food cycling her. which is what a lot of the olive guys seem to do, and it seems to work really well. So fingers crossed, this will be the year.
Oh yeah, awesome.
All right. Well, I think yeah.
Yeah, we can call it, I guess. Until maybe
right.
get you back on and do an update, see if the olives take, and
Yeah, tell Dylan's skinny ass to get in here.
yeah, we could have all four of us on here at
Yeah.
once.
Yeah, he's a pain in the ass. He was supposed to come out to my house. He promised me by Halloween. So I don't know if it's Halloween 2021 or what, but he hasn't made it out here yet. So we'll see.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
All right. Well, hell yeah, man. We'll definitely be in touch. And like, thanks for coming on. We definitely appreciate
Not a problem. Thank you for having me.
it. Yeah, not a problem.
I'm gonna go get some stuff together, and then I'm gonna go to bed.
Dude, I feel that.
Living the dream.
Yeah, you have a good night now.
You as well. We'll see you guys.
Later.
See ya.